There's a lake in Africa that turns living animals into stone. There's a circle in the desert so massive you can only understand its shape from space. There's a wall that once stretched twice the length of the Great Wall of China, and it was erased from history in 3 days. And there's a small stone chapel guarded right now, today, by one man who has taken a vow never to leave it alive. 7 places, 1 continent, and a question historians still can't answer. Why were they built? And who told us to stop asking? Stick around, because place number 7 is going to change how you think about the word forbidden. Let's start with the one satellites had to find for us, because the ground couldn't. The Richat Structure, Mauritania. Picture a bullseye, 40 kilometers wide, painted directly onto the Sahara Desert. That's the Richat Structure, and for decades, nobody on the ground even knew it existed as a single shape, because you simply cannot see it from the surface. It took astronauts in orbit to reveal it. In 1965, NASA astronauts Ed White and James McDivitt photographed it during the Gemini 4 mission, and the world got its first look at what's now nicknamed the Eye of the Sahara. The rings are so perfectly concentric that the first serious theory wasn't geology at all. It was a meteor impact, a scar from the sky. There was an even wilder theory. Some researchers, including proponents inspired by Plato's writings, argued this could be the lost city of Atlantis, its concentric rings matching Plato's description of Atlantis's circular canals almost too well. But here's what the evidence actually says. Field teams searched for shocked quartz, melted rock, impact debris, the fingerprints every real meteor strike leaves behind. They found none. Instead, they found igneous dikes and hydrothermal minerals, proof that molten rock pushed up from beneath the crust millions of years ago, like a bubble rising through syrup. And wind and water erosion carved the rest into rings over millions of years. So the impact theory is dead. The Atlantis theory is a myth. But here's the part that never makes it into the documentaries. Recent excavations around the Richat Structure have turned up Acheulean stone tools, hand axes used by early human relatives like Homo erectus, which means long before it was a tourist curiosity or a satellite photo, this eye may have watched some of the very first humans walk past it. Lake Natron, Tanzania. Now go south to a lake that looks like it was painted in blood. Lake Natron sits in the Tanzanian section of the Great Rift Valley, and its water can reach a pH of 10.5, nearly as caustic as ammonia. It will burn your skin. It will blind you if it touches your eyes. In 2011, photographer Nick Brandt walked its shoreline and found something that looked impossible. Birds, bats, and small mammals, perfectly preserved. Wings still open, eyes still open, as if they had been turned to stone mid-flight. He posed them exactly as he found them and photographed them. The images went viral around the world under one label: the lake that turns animals to stone. The real explanation is almost as strange as the myth. The lake is saturated with natron, sodium carbonate, the same mineral ancient Egyptians used to mummify pharaohs. When an animal dies near the shore, the same chemistry that preserved Egyptian kings for 3,000 years calcifies it within days. No one has ever fully confirmed why so many birds die here in the first place. The leading theory is that the mirror-like surface confuses them mid-flight, and they crash straight into a lake that was never meant to hold anything alive. And yet, in the middle of this graveyard, 75% of the entire world's lesser flamingo population chooses to breed here, and nowhere else on Earth. Life's cradle and its tomb in the same caustic water. 2 landscapes, one built by fire from below, one by chemistry from within. But the next 2 places aren't natural at all. They were built deliberately by hands we still can't fully explain. Tassili, Algeria, deep in the Algerian Sahara, on a sandstone plateau the size of a small country, there are over 15,000 paintings and engravings, some more than 12,000 years old. This is Tassili, and it is proof of something the desert itself tries to hide. that the Sahara wasn't always a desert at all. The oldest layer of art here is called the Round Head period, and it's where things get strange. The figures aren't hunters or cattle. They're humanoid shapes with smooth, featureless, oversized round heads, some appearing to float, some depicted mid-swim in the air. One figure towers over 6 meters tall. The French archaeologist who first documented them in the 1930s, Henri Lot, half-jokingly nicknamed them the Martians. The name stuck for a reason. Nobody has ever definitively explained what they represent. Mainstream archaeology's best guess is masked shamans in ritual trance. But best guess is still a guess. Layer by layer, the art changes with the climate. Antelope and giraffes give way to cattle herds, proof of a green Sahara, a savanna with rivers and lakes, roughly 11,000 to 5,000 years ago. Then the cattle disappear. Then the horses appear. Then finally, the camels, the animal of a desert that had already won. This isn't just art. It's a 12,000-year weather report, carved in stone by people watching their entire world dry up around them. Nabta Playa, Egypt. Now travel east to a stretch of Egyptian desert near the Sudanese border that looks like absolutely nothing. Flat, dry, empty. But 11,000 years ago, this was a lake. And around that lake, someone built the oldest astronomical device on Earth. In 1974, American archaeologist Fred Wendorf found stone slabs poking out of the sand. For years, scientists assumed they were just wind-scattered rock. Then they started digging. What they uncovered was a circle of standing stones, arranged with an accuracy that lines up with the summer solstice. Accurate to the minute. Let that sink in. This calendar circle is roughly 5,000 years older than Stonehenge and 6,000 years older than the Egyptian pyramids. A people with no metal, no wheel, no writing system tracked the sky well enough to fix a solstice point almost perfectly before the word astronomy had even been invented anywhere on Earth. It gets stranger. Buried nearby were megaliths weighing up to 30 tons, deliberately planted vertically, aligned toward 3 specific stars in the constellation Orion. The same alignment some researchers claim to see in the shafts of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Coincidence? Maybe. But around 9,000 years ago, the lake at Nabta Playa began drying up, and the people who built this observatory vanished within a generation or two. Some researchers believe they didn't vanish at all. They migrated north, down the Nile, into the valley, where centuries later, the civilization we call ancient Egypt would rise. The builders of Earth's first observatory may have become the ancestors of the people who built the pyramids. And you were never taught their name. If a 6,000-year-old star map buried in the sand surprised you, you need to see what happens at number 5, because this next one isn't a mystery historians couldn't solve. It's one they weren't allowed to. Hit subscribe now, because what's coming up gets a lot more uncomfortable.
Great Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe. In modern Zimbabwe stands a wall 11 meters high, built from over 1 million granite blocks with not one drop of mortar holding it together. Just precision, just weight, just geometry. This is Great Zimbabwe, built and expanded from roughly the 10th century onward, and it's so structurally exact that a British architect who studied it in the 1960s admitted he didn't know a modern contractor who could build it without reinforced concrete. Here's the part that should make you angry. When European explorers first saw these walls in the 19th century, they outright refused, to believe local African people had built them. German geologist Karl Mauch wrote in his journal that the buildings were too good to have been built by Africans, and guessed instead at Phoenicians or the Queen of Sheba or King Solomon. Every guess pointed anywhere but the truth, standing right in front of him. It got worse. In the 20th century, the colonial Rhodesian government didn't just believe the myth, it enforced it. Archaeologists were officially discouraged and in some cases barred from publishing findings that credited the ancestors of the local Shona people, a government censoring the history of its own land. When independent research in the 1970s confirmed, beyond doubt, that Great Zimbabwe was built by Africans. For Africans, funding for further digs quietly dried up. No scandal, no headlines, just silence. Today, Great Zimbabwe gave its name to an entire nation, and it still receives a fraction of the tourists that flock to the pyramids of Giza for a wall built with the same, if not greater, precision. Walls of Benin, Nigeria, now to the Kingdom of Benin, in what is today southern Nigeria, not to be confused with the modern country of Benin, a different place entirely. At its height, this kingdom was protected by a system of earthen walls and ditches stretching an estimated 16,000 kilometers. For comparison, the Great Wall of China runs about 8,000 kilometers. The walls of Benin were roughly double that length. In 1974, the British publication, New Scientist called them the largest single archaeological earthwork on the planet. European visitors who reached Benin City in the 15th century wrote home in disbelief. One Portuguese sailor described a city as impressive as Lisbon. Straight streets, an organized layout, and bronze relief plaques so refined that in Europe they would have been treated as fine art. Then in February 1897, a British force marched in. The city was burned. More than 1,000 bronze artifacts were shipped to London. Sections of the wall were torn down, and what remained was left to the jungle. A civilization that had stood for centuries was erased from the map in roughly 72 hours. Days, and its evidence held behind a law written by the very country that did the destroying. The Chapel of the Tablet, Axum, Ethiopia. We end where the video's opening question began. In northern Ethiopia lies Axum, once the capital of an empire so powerful that in the 3rd century, the Persian prophet Mani ranked it alongside Rome, Persia, and China as one of the 4 great powers on earth. Axum controlled trade routes between the Mediterranean and India, and in the year 330, it became the first kingdom in the world to adopt Christianity as a state religion, before Rome did. Scattered through the city are towering stone obelisks called stelae, carved from single blocks of solid granite. The largest standing one reaches 33 meters and weighs roughly 500 tons. One that fell centuries ago was even larger, an estimated 600 tons, which would make it the single heaviest monolith ever raised by human hands anywhere on the planet. Nobody has ever fully reconstructed how the Axumites lifted them. In 1935, Mussolini's forces invaded Ethiopia and looted one of these obelisks, sawed it into 3 pieces, shipped it to Rome, and erected it outside a government building. It stood there for almost 70 years. Ethiopia demanded its return starting in 1947. It finally came home in 2005. And when engineers tried to re-erect it, they needed modern cranes and 6 months of planning to do what the Axumites had apparently done with no cranes at all, over 1,000 years earlier. But the obelisks are not the reason we're ending here. In the center of Axum stands a small, unremarkable-looking chapel. It's called the Chapel of the Tablet. No one is permitted inside. Not tourists, not archaeologists, not government officials, not even the head of the Ethiopian church. It is watched by a single monk, chosen for life, known only as the Guardian. When he takes the role, he takes a vow. He will never leave the chapel grounds again, not once, until he dies. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church claims that inside sits the true Ark of the Covenant, the same gold and acacia wood chest described in the Bible as holding the 10 Commandments, last confirmed in Solomon's Temple in Jerusalem. Ethiopian tradition says it was carried here around the 10th century BCE by Menelik I, the son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, and that it has remained inside this one chapel ever since. In 2009, the patriarch of the Ethiopian church told journalists he was ready to reveal it to the world. The story went global. Within days, he withdrew the statement. No explanation given. There has been no official statement on the matter since. Historians, journalists, and researchers from multiple countries have tried for decades to get even an independent look. The answer is always the same. The Guardian does not allow it. The Guardian does not speak. He lives inside that chapel, and he will walk out of it only once, when he no longer needs to walk at all. Somewhere behind that door is either humanity's most sacred relic, or a secret one nation has, protected so completely that even the attempt to look inside would trigger a diplomatic incident. We don't know which. No one alive outside that chapel does. 7 places. A geological eye no one can read from the ground. A lake that preserves what it kills. A gallery of Martians painted before the desert existed. An observatory older than the word astronomy. A wall too well built to credit its own builders. A kingdom erased in 72 hours. And a door that has not opened in living memory. The easy explanation is that these are simply understudied corners of the world. That data is thin because no one's gotten around to it yet. But that's not what the record shows. Great Zimbabwe was under a research ban for nearly a century. The walls of Benin sat abandoned in the jungle for over 130 years. Nabta Playa waited 2 decades for real funding after its discovery. History isn't just what happened. It's a decision about which facts get remembered. And someone made that decision for us a long time ago. If this list changed how you see the word Africa, subscribe, because next time, we're going inside that chapel's closest cousin, the sealed tunnels beneath. Lalibela that even modern Gyrodar can't fully map.